Hello, you stunningly gorgeous people of the internet. It is that time of year again. We are wrapping it up. 2025 is over, basically. I can't believe it, but it happens every year, and I say the same exact thing. I read about, how many books did I read? Almost 60 this year. I really was going super fast, and then I slowed down, and I'm okay with that. That's fine. That was just my journey with reading this year. Today, I'm going to be giving you my top 9, I think, just because I don't want to be like everyone else. I don't want to do a top 10. I'm doing a top 9, and then I have 2 honorable mentions. I could have easily put those in the top 10, but they're not quite... they're there. They're definitely deserving, but I just like to complicate things a little bit. So let's start. First with a drink of my latte, and then let's start with number 9 on the list. Is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I've already sold this book. I did a big cleansing of my bookshelf this year, and I sold this to the wonderful individual that purchased it, so thank you so much for supporting the channel. And it's not that I didn't want to keep this, I just wanted to kind of get rid of things, and that's a big old book, and it takes up a lot of space on the bookshelf. But this book really moved me in a way that reminds me why I like reading so much. It's a great story. Obviously, Stephen King has a reputation as a horror guy. The #1 horror guy, some would argue. But something about this just reinstated the fact that he is a master storyteller, and that's really the root of what makes him so impactful as an author. This is about a man who discovers a portal. He's able to travel back in time, and essentially he is gifted the task of trying to intervene in the JFK assassination. That's just the very short, like brief spark notes version of this book. It comes in at around 800 pages, so there's so much more to that. I really just enjoyed the time that I had with this book. I became obsessed with Stephen King after reading this. I really went deep into his bio. I really went deep into his life. I feel like I thought I knew a lot of what Stephen King was capable of, and maybe I was pushing against a lot of my own purity as a reader, hoping that I wouldn't enjoy his stories, but I really loved this. I was gripped from page 1 all the way to page 800, and this has stuck with me throughout the year, and I'm happy to put it at number 9 on my all-defining list of the greats of the greats. And then number 8 is The Friend by Sigrid Nunez. This was a library book, so I returned it on time. Okay? If there's one thing I can say that I'm very proud that I do in my day-to-day life is I return books on time. And so I don't have this on me either, but this book, wow, what a gem of a book. This is essentially about a woman who loses a very close friend, like a confidant to her most personal life. It was like an ex-lover, it was a writing colleague, it was somebody who she really trusted their opinion of just life and how she feels lost moving forward. But he gifted her as like a last gift, parting gift, this massive dog who is the friend, or he is the friend. There's lots of different interpretations for what the friend could mean. Really just is such a round experience for so many people. It's for people who are grieving. It's for people who are writers. This is such a literary book. There's so many different literary references. There's so many different references to amazing movies, to amazing moments in writers' careers, and so many influential people. It's also a New Yorker's book. I read a massive chunk of this book when I was in Central Park. I just kind of was sitting there listening to jazz in the background and reading this book. A lot of it is centered around being in New York and being in a rent-stabilized apartment and trying to navigate having a dog when it's not within the rules of a New York City apartment. And this, I don't know, this just felt like it was right for me to read at the time, and it's stuck with me. It's been adapted into a movie, which I don't know if I'll see. That was the original reason why I picked this up, because it was a movie. Now doing more research on Sigrid Nunez, and this is a semi-autobiographical work, I don't know if I want to remove her from the equation visually. I want her to be a part of it, and I don't know if I'd see the movie. But this is great. This is very well praised, and I think it deserves that. Definitely. Number 7, Interpreter of Maladies. I also saw this book. I thought about keeping it, but then I thought, I'd rather give this to somebody else to just pass on these stories. This book was really great. I think this kickstarted something in me this year of wanting to read books published in the early 2000s or the 90s and just see how much our world has shifted with the introduction of technology and how our storytelling has evolved. This book felt like a perfect way to begin that journey, unintentionally, really. I wanted to do that as a way of exploring books this year, and this book, I didn't seek it out with that intention, but it fulfilled that for me. This is all short stories. It was my first jhumpa lahiri, and I plan to read so much more of her work. I really thought that this was very romantic in the way that it was written, even though all of these stories do not have elements of romance to them. Some of them do. I would actually say the root of all these stories is relationships. There's actually a lot of stories. I was just about to say there's one story, but there's a couple of stories that stick out to me. And I know who these people are. And these were just really beautiful. These were really beautiful. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm a little lost talking about this because I'm reliving the stories that stuck out to me. There's one about a gentleman coming to the United States, and he gets this landlord, and she's this much older, kind of cranky woman. And it's just how their relationship evolved from him kind of wandering in and trying to find his place and her eventually accepting him. There's also another one about a family riding in the back of this car, this taxi driver, and the wife kind of spills this secret. It's an examination on long-term relationships and temporary relationships, and it's beautiful. And the short stories feel so full-bodied. The execution's amazing. I would read this 100% again, and I suggest you do as well. Number 6, I finally have the books that I can hold up. Number 6 is Surfacing by Margaret Atwood. I read this book during a Getting Up at 5 a.m. challenge video that I was really unsuccessful at. You're human too if you can't get up at 5 a.m., okay? I tried, I failed, and I feel fine about it. This book was probably the best thing that came out of that video. I would wake up in the morning longing to read this book. This is a very, very tiny book. It was my first Atwood. I'm actually very happy that I read this Atwood first before her most famous book, The Handmaid's Tale. This, I had no idea what I was going to get into, and this was a wild book. I also picked this up in Canada, so I was very much in a Canadian mood. This book takes place in the Canadian outdoors. It's all about a woman who is looking for her lost father. She has this very mysterious relationship to the land, but she brings her friends with her to explore this area, this cabin. She's conflicted about her relationship that she has with this man, her place as a woman. This was really kind of emotionally violent at times, but you felt that you were with the character, and it didn't feel gratuitous. It felt very, you were suspended in that world with her. And this was weird, but it stuck with me so much throughout the year. I was really moved by how powerful Atwood's writing was. And like I said, I'm happy that I read this first because I think I would have, in the same vein as Stephen King, maybe pushed against wanting to like Handmaid's Tale because it's so popular, but this was a very individual experience and I enjoyed this so much. This is great. Number 5, this is a book that I have talked about quite a bit on this channel, and it's grown on me so much so that I would have never thought to put it on my top 9 list, my very important top 9 list, but I can't stop thinking about it. And that is Orlando by Jacqueline Harpman. I really liked this book. And in the same vein as The Interpreter of Maladies, this serviced me that very early 90s. I have talked about this on my Patreon. I wrote a little bit about this, but I was able to envision the outfits that people were wearing in this incredibly well. And for some reason, that's a very important part of my reading experience. I like to envision people's outfits, the way that people style their hair or the color of their hair. That really helps me to kind of keep track of them. And in this, I don't know why, but I just envisioned the main girl wearing a sleeveless turtleneck, a red sleeveless turtleneck with a gray wool skirt and tights. And that, I think, is the best way to describe this book. Easily, hands down. I don't know how to explain it, but that is what this book did for me. This is all a retelling of Virginia Woolf's Orlando, but set in modern day Belgium, I believe. I believe it's Belgium. Yeah. It takes place in Paris, but it goes between Belgium and Paris. Well, Belgium and France, I should say. I thought that this was kind of like slightly erotic in a weird way. A 35-year-old woman separating herself and inhabiting the body of a 19, 20-year-old man. I liked the exploratory aspect of this. Really kind of trippy, but didn't feel like I was getting lost in it. Also, you know I'm a stickler for an ending. This was a great ending that just kind of came out of nowhere, and oof. You want to talk about really inspecting inside yourself and making decisions. This book did it. Okay, number 4, The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. Okay, I forgot that I read this book, and then I was going through my books and I said, oh my gosh, how did I forget reading that book? Also, I read this for my Patreon book club because when I did a video this year about twist endings, so many people said, The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. And I said, what? Okay, let's do that. Didn't know that this was going to be a 600 plus page book. Picked it up from the library, hardcover. Hello. My back was strained, but I took that baby everywhere. I read it in the summertime. I loved this. A semi-contemporary, I think it's 2014, Irish novel centered around a family in financial ruin, the decisions that we make, the secrets that we keep, the lives that we want to project. I was going to say project and present. I'm putting those two words together. I've talked about this before, but a lot of newer novels, it's really a focus on splitting up narratives, and I think it's a way to make chapters really consumable for the new reader. This does it in a way that's really effective, and I loved getting into all of these characters' minds, what makes them tick. There are certain chapters of this that are a lot more experimental than others. The mother in the family, for example, it's very stream of consciousness, but again, I don't feel lost in this. The twist ending, it didn't feel so twisty to me. I think it's just much more of interpreting the ride that you've been on. And that is what is so special about this, is because you are on an individual ride. You do latch onto one particular character, and wherever their ending goes, that's what you get out of it. I feel like I would really benefit from a reread of this and maybe follow one particular character more than I did during the initial read. Yeah, I loved that book. I love that, and I think I'll come back to that again in my life. Absolutely. Okay, so before we get into the top 3, let's do some honorable mentions. Very fast, very, very fast. I'm currently, from my book club, reading Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. I can't say if it's going to be a top 10 yet, but I think it's pretty dang good. Lots of people love this book. I'm going to put this on there just because I know I'm going to finish it and say, oh, yeah, I wish I put that on there. But I can't officially, so I'll put that one as an honorable mention. Berserk has got to go on there, okay? I got to do it because I'm fully immersed in that experience. I'm waiting on edition 4 to come from the library. I already have edition 5, but I can't skip ahead. I got to stay linear, okay? Berserk is on there. Because why not? Number 3. Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. I feel like a bad American for just reading this in completion now, later on in my life. But actually, you know what? I take it back. I feel happier that I did this as an adult because I got so much out of this book. I didn't feel like I was dragging my knuckles trying to find some meaning in this book, trying to just go through it. No. I experienced this book. My favorite author of all time, you know I love a John Steinbeck. This could, it's like neck and neck with East of Eden for me. East of Eden is my favorite book of all time. This could be neck and neck. This ending is one of the best endings I have ever read in my entire life. It summarizes all of the sentiments, everything that's trying to be conveyed in this book in just one paragraph at the end. And it just blows your mind. It just blows your mind. And I suggest it to anybody. If you're intimidated by the size, don't be. This is, again, a family saga, the Dust Bowl, trying to travel to California in search of a better life. What could go wrong? Okay, top two. Number 2, Light Years by James Salter. Yeah, this was, I think, the second Patreon book club that we chose this year. I read it in the winter. And a part of me wanted to read this in the summer. Felt like it might have been a little bit more of a companion for that type of time. But I'm so happy that I read this in the winter because I think it encapsulated all of the emotions in this. This is about a marriage and who the individuals are in a marriage outside of their marriage, who you think you are and who you eventually become in a marriage, what's expected of you in a marriage, why we do the things we do in a marriage. The writing in this is beautiful. The writing in this transports you to the places that you need to be within these individuals' heads. You grow with these characters. I felt like I grew after reading this book. It also takes place in upstate New York, so if you don't know, that's where I'm from originally. I'm in my parents' house. Some people think this is my New York City apartment. Baby, I wish, okay? I wish. I'm in upstate New York right now. I read a lot of this when I was in upstate New York in my parents' bath. So I felt privileged to read this in its setting. I don't know. I think this cover is the best way to describe this book. This is a perfect cover. It really is this book. And this is a fantastic read. I highly suggest. If you're in a relationship, if you're not in a relationship, if you want to find out who you are, you will be able to find valuable information in these characters that will aid you. Okay, number 1. This was so easy for me to pick. It was so easy. If you've watched the channel this year, you know it. Such Times by Christopher Coe. I want you to know this is my second time buying this book. I've already given this to somebody as a gift. I bought it one, and then I needed to give a gift, and I said, oh, I know what gift to give my friend. I gave him that book, and then I bought this again. Okay? I love this book. I feel like I found this book. I feel like this book found me. I wasn't moved by anybody else's review of this. This was just a book that I chose because I saw somebody made a review of one of his books on Goodreads. It was called I Look Divine, and I said, who is that diva? Such Times, I read the back of it, and I said, that seems like a book that I need to read. So a love story in a complicated time in American history. It takes place in New York City. It's amazing. I feel like I've talked about it on the channel a million times, so you know what it's about. Go with this story. Go with this story. Fall in love with these characters. Fall in love with life. That's what I felt when I was reading this. Fall in love with falling in love. It also helps that it takes place in New York City, okay? It reminds me of a lot of my incredibly close friends. It also reminds me of a part of me, of an exploratory part of me. I think it deserves so much praise. I just hope if there's one thing that you've gotten out of this video, it's just to pick up this book. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I just want to pass that on to everybody. Just read this. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Okay. So there you have it, guys. My top 9 favorite books of the year. I had a wonderful reading year, and I attribute a lot of that to your viewership. I can't thank you enough for being with me this year. You've really made it a very, very special year for me, and this YouTube channel and the community that it has fostered has been a really special place for me, and I hope you know how thankful I am to have you all watching. So, Happy New Year. I will see you in 2026. You guys are wonderful. You're fabulous. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you in the next one.